Now available in paperback and e-readers, Esteemed Season of the Witch Girl. The aspiring angel takes on a wicked teenage witch in this action-packed, all-new Esteemed series adventure. Pick up your copy of Esteemed Season of the Witch Girl in paperback and e-readers at online booksellers today. One of my viewers wanted to know my opinion on social media platforms. Now, the viewer says that there are a lot of different social media sites, and people used to go to different ones for different specific reasons, and he basically is right. Yes, people used to go to different social media sites for different reasons back in the day. I remember when people went to sites like Blogger just to write blogs where they expressed their thoughts and opinions or expressed their passions for a subject. And I remember when people went to sites like MySpace to go out here and hang out with friends. And I also remember when they went to sites like Facebook to reconnect with old high school acquaintances and other former college associates. Again, each social network was targeted towards a specific group, whereas you had microbloggers like Twitter and you had microbloggers like Tumblr, where you had to present a thought in, again, under 160 letters or so. And on Blogger and on Tumblr, you had a little bit more space as related to blogging. Again, each of these sites basically were unique and distinct because they were owned by different owners. However, as time went on with most of these social media sites, what they did was start emulating each other in an effort to go out here and reach a larger audience of users. And this is what the viewer was talking about, how many of these sites basically are almost the same these days and have lost their distinctness. Now, many of these sites basically wound up losing their distinctness because many of these sites basically were taken over by people like venture capitalists and corporations. Now, I remember back in 2010 when MySpace was bought by News Corp, and the entire site basically changed overnight with MySpace 2.0. And I remember when that site basically, after it was bought, basically completely changed and alienated all the users who basically migrated over to Facebook because they didn't like the changes. Now, because they didn't like the changes, they basically left that site and moved over to Facebook, and that happens all the time as related to these social media platforms. And these social media platforms, as I've seen it, basically I just use them as a tool for my business. That's the main reason why I wind up coming on social media, is because I wanted to use these platforms to go out here and hope to go out and expand my business, the SJS Direct Imprint, and reach a larger audience of customers online all across the globe. Now, when it comes down to me and social media to me is a tool that I use as related to marketing for my business. I use social media mainly to go out here and let people know about the books that are coming out on the SJS Direct Imprint. And I use platforms, some of them like YouTube, to let people get to know me. Now, when it comes down to publishing, you just can't just go out here and just sell books, because people just don't buy books. They buy a relationship with an author. And that's one of the reasons why I came to social media, using different social media platforms towards letting people get to know me and letting them get to know the books that I produce on the SJS Direct Imprint. Because I believe if people got to know how I present myself, they could see a reflection of me as related to the work, and this would motivate them to go out here and buy more books. That's one of the reasons why I came to social media and started building a much larger web presence on social media, rather than going out here and building a website that basically most people would miss, because they would not really know where to find me. But if they go to social media, they can find me in multiple places. And if they can find me in multiple places, they can learn more about me and learn more about the books that I produce. Now, when it came down to social media, I use different sites towards that whole effort. And what I do was I started out in 2007 with my blogger site with Sean James Black Freelance Writer, and I used the blogger site to let people get to know my writing and let them get to know the stories that I told in the books that I produced, and also let them get to know my whole approach to writing as related to the blogs. And as people started to get to know my writing, I got asked to work on another social media site in a column called for a website called Onyx Link. I don't know if they're around anymore, but I used to post articles regularly there from I think about 2010 to 2011. I used to do blogs like Black Men in Dresses, Entertainment or Emasculation, and many other different articles on that site. And that people got to know me there in addition to my blogger site. And as people got to know my writing, I started to see the foot traffic really grow, where people were looking for Sean James Black Freelance Writer, and I had several blogs go viral, such as Why Real Men Avoid Single Mothers, which is considered to be one of the more popular blogs that I've ever written. It's gotten, again, a couple of million hits, I believe, or something like that, all over the world. It's gone viral, and it's been copied all over the world and shared with people. And as time has gone on, I've had lots of blogs go popular. I mean, this is how a lot of people knew me in the comic book world, because I wrote a lot of comic book blogs, and people were talking about my blogs on comic book resources as far back as 2012, but it never really turned into a comic writing job, which was really interesting to me. People knew who I was, and again, as they got to know me, they got to know the SJS Direct imprint and the books that I was producing. And as I came on social media, I basically was again looking to build my web presence, and I built that web presence starting in 2007 with the Sean James Black Freelance Writer blog. Also went out here and was continuing to write different blogs after I lost my job at City College, continued writing blogs and continued networking with people who were in publishing. I met a best-selling author who wrote romances. She helped me out with a lot with as related to my writing career. Met another woman who was in writing, and she helped me to basically build my web presence. She told me all about Twitter and how Twitter could help as related to marketing, and that's where I started learning how to again build my marketing, again building up campaigns on social media, building up campaigns starting out by letting people know books were coming on the blog. And as technology evolved, Amazon started doing things like pre-orders, and that really helped me out a lot in building up buzz for books and things like that. And I would use all of these different social media platforms towards one approach, and that is letting more people know about SJS Direct books when SJS Direct books are coming out, and to let them get to know me and the books that I produced on the SJS Direct imprint. Now, each of them, again, were unique and distinct. I mean, Twitter basically was a site where I could market a book by using a slogan with under, I think, 160 characters. I could basically market a book like that, and that helped me to learn how to, again write things in a more condensed fashion as related to things like when you see as related to the slogans, like when I do a slogan saying, "The man who rules the world takes on an agent from the CIA, from the Black Boule," that was written to basically fit within Twitter's whole limitations, and that basically helped me to be able to, again, create slogans that would be catchy and get your attention. And then there were sites like Facebook where I basically, again, networked with a lot of different people and, again, met a couple of authors who again helped me out in learning more about the publishing business. And I met a lot of comic artists on social media. I mean, I met Mike Williams on Blogger, and who does the John Haynes covers. Also continued to talk to him on other social media platforms, and again used all of these different platforms and as related to, again, that one singular goal. They may have had different approaches, but I used them all towards one singular goal. However, I've noticed what the viewer has talked about as related to a lot of these platforms and how they've moved away from what they originally were all about. And that sadly is just a part of the business, because what these sites really want to do is they want to reach a larger audience of users, and the only way to do that was to adapt to the changing social media marketplace. Now, the first site I saw that went out here looking to, again, changed its whole dynamic was MySpace back in 2010. Now, MySpace was a place for friends and casual socialization, and it was a site that allowed you to customize your page. However, as time went on around 2010, MySpace basically wound up changing because it had become corporatized, and as it was sold by Tom to News Corp, MySpace basically changed for the worst, and they wound up alienating users and eventually became completely irrelevant because their whole site went from, again, a lot of creative people like myself, writers, artists, and other people who were looking to share their work with others to a start of a trend of a lot of these trolls, attention seekers, and all sorts of drama kings and drama queens basically looking to get attention by, again, participating in all sorts of acts of sexual promiscuity, or by being lascivious, going out here again putting up pictures of themselves again that were in lingerie or all sorts of sexualization. They would put up those type of pictures in an effort to get attention. Then there would be trolls who would basically troll people's sites looking again to start drama, and that basically drove a lot of the writers and artists away from the platform of MySpace over to Facebook. And as those people came over to Facebook, basically they were looking to meet other writers and artists and other creative people. Now, Facebook's whole site was all about people networking with former classmates or old acquaintances and old friends and basically connecting with each other. However, Facebook wound up changing around 2015, 2016 with the 2016 presidential election. That's where the site basically became a lot more polarized and became a lot more polarized as related to politics, and that got progressively worse over the Trump presidency, where people stopped networking and being social and started to turn antisocial, and this got progressively worse as the pandemic came in. Now, the pandemic was the worst time for Facebook because that's where that social media site became extremely antisocial. Again, extremely antisocial to the point where you had people looking at Facebook basically, again, putting people on bans and all sorts of stuff for arbitrary reasons. And Facebook is not a really good environment as related to things because people are just so mean and nasty these days. I remember when 2008, 2009, Facebook was a civil environment. People, again, agreed to disagree, but the site these days, again, is just still in that hostile space where you can't socialize with people because people are so polarized and so caught up in their emotions that you can't have an amicable discussion. I mean, Facebook is not a good place, again, for socialization. Now, when it comes down to Facebook, again, it's more of a site for older people, but there are other sites that basically are just, that started out good. I mean, Instagram started out as a site where you could just, again, put up pictures of your life, and a lot of celebrities would go there, but that site basically has become basically a site for a lot of these women who, again, want to get attention by posing in lingerie. A lot of these so-called IG models. It's a site basically where there are a lot of simps on there looking to get attention from women. Again, not looking to socialize in a social way, but in an anti-social way. And that Instagram experience really isn't a good one at all as related to things. I mean, I find the site to be just basically a site that basically led to the precursor to OnlyFans, where you got a site where women, again, are just looking for attention. Again, that's what they try to do on Facebook because Facebook has community guidelines. They don't let you go but so far. But Instagram is a place where people do this kind of stuff. Now, these sites have become more and more debaucherous these days. Basically, they just become more and more debaucherous. And this is what the viewer wanted to talk about. And this is something I saw on the Tumblr site. I mean, on the Tumblr site, they were allowing a lot of nudity and adult content. Again, in the mid-2010s. Now, I was on Tumblr, again, promoting books. And I remember, again, when that was a site where it was very family-friendly. However, as time went on, they started putting on more adult content, and they did the same thing on Twitter, again, allowing more adult content. And basically, that's basically one of the things that's happened with social media. You've got a couple of these sites that basically have just become adult oriented and feature adult imagery, and it's turned social. It showed a further escalation of social media becoming anti-social. Now, a lot of these sites, basically what they are doing is basically trying to again reach that larger audience, because what happens with websites is that websites have a cycle. They have a cycle where they start out, they have a rise, they have a peak, and then they have a decline. And what's happening with many of these websites that has them, again, looking the same and basically having all of this adult content, is many of these sites basically are in this cycle to try to stay alive and try to go past the 10 to 15 year cycle that basically leads to the end of a website. Because usually with these internet companies usually wind up dying within 10 to 15 years. They basically become obsolete. And what a lot of these tech companies want to do is try to stay relevant. So they start allowing a lot more they start again opening up things and just pushing past boundaries. They start pushing past their boundaries as related to their so-called community guidelines, because what they see is that their audience starts to decline. Because what happens is with these websites is that they start to lose their audience as their audience gets older. As their audience starts to get older, within 10 to 15 years, is that many of these websites, people again take them for granted and they become completely irrelevant. So in an effort to stay relevant, they need to keep getting the clicks and views in order to get attention. They need to keep getting the traffic coming to their site. So they start pushing the boundaries as related to content, because when it comes to the internet, content is king. And if you're limiting yourself with content, you're going to wind up limiting your audience. And the way they try to keep the ad dollars coming into the website and the foot traffic coming in, because with the internet it's like this. Again, in order for you to get these advertisers and get the revenue coming in, you have to have foot traffic coming to your site. And the way they keep the traffic coming in is by trying to get people's attention, And again, when the people like myself, the writers and the artists who create substantive content, wind up leaving the site, they go out here looking to create this sensationalized content to get people's attention. And that's why the internet has become a virtual sewer rather than being an information superhighway. It's become a virtual sewer, and social media basically feeds a lot of the waste, because a lot of these sites, basically what they want to do is continue getting all of the hits, continue getting all of the clicks and views. So they would rather go out here and put up inflammatory and sensationalized content to get people's attention. They would rather continue putting up all of this inflammatory and sensationalized content because they want to get more clicks and views. And that's why you see sites like Twitter and Tumblr featuring a lot of nudity. They basically feature this type of content because they want to keep the revenue stream flowing. They want to keep the money coming in, because if you have a site that's just basically, again, with creative people, that doesn't get the clicks and views, and what they want to do is create the shocking content that they believe will get the clicks and views. Now, these sites, again, basically the only way you can deal with these type of sites is basically to just not use them. I mean, that's the only way you can deal with it, and that's what I'm going to explain to the viewer. Again, this stuff is basically there, and the only thing you can do is basically scroll past it. Now, back in the day, there used to be rules on platforms like X, which is now known as Twitter, and Facebook, that you could not put any nudity on the platform. That would be a violation of the guidelines, And the same thing was with Tumblr. Again, that was considered to be inappropriate content. Same thing with Blogger. It was considered to be inappropriate. But now, because they want to keep the foot traffic going, what they do is allow this content on. I mean, on Blogger, you have to put an 18 plus on your site, and they'll allow it. On Twitter, it's basically there. Tumblr, it's basically there. But with this internet, it's all about what you're looking for. Now, you don't really want to look for it, but again, if you don't like it, again, the only thing you can do is just not use the site. And not use the site, because these platforms, again, are going to be this way. And that's the sad part about it as related to social media. I mean, social media has become a sewer. It's a sewer at this point. I mean, it's a virtual sewer. And again, but that virtual sewer is a reflection of the people, because when it comes down to the internet, the content put on the internet is a reflection of the people. Now, I remember in the year 2000, when I first came on the internet and started using the internet, when it came down to adult content, it was all on its own site. And many of the adult entertainment platforms, they are very stringent about making sure that their content doesn't fall in the wrong hands. They are some of the people who, again, are active about this, about making sure that their content, because it doesn't fall into the wrong hands. However, when it comes down to these social media sites, they don't set that boundary like the adult entertainment industry does. Now, the adult entertainment industry, they put up walls in front of their stuff saying you have to be 18 to enter, and they insist that you have to be 18 in most cases with their sites, because they don't want their sites running into the wrong hands, because they don't want the federal government bringing a hammer down on them. And they will go out here and make sure that their stuff ain't on nobody's site. They will basically put DCMAs out there on sites that, again, put their content up without their permission. The porn industry, again, our adult industry, is very strict on that, and they're very strict on that to a point. But when it comes down to social media, again, is the big problem with it, is that it's a reflection of the people, and we get a very ugly picture of America presented on social media. With sites like TikTok, again, we get a picture of America that's really ugly. And that's the sad part about what you see on sites like X, formerly known as Twitter, and Tumblr, and many sites like Facebook and Instagram and TikTok. Again, it's people putting up content, and again, the people who put up the content, this is a reflection of them. Now, there was a time when people were very discreet about the internet because they knew that it was a reflection of them. But these days, a lot of people don't care about that, and that's why we see the sad state of social media, with it all being just garbage. A lot of it is garbage because a lot of people, this is a reflection of who they are. I mean, when I look at the internet these days, I'm deeply disappointed. I'm deeply disappointed because I remember in the year 2000 when the internet was a place of intelligence and excellence. I remember when it was a place of ideas and a place of creative people. But sadly, what's happened to the internet with social media is it's become a reflection of the worst of we the people. It's become a reflection of the worst. And again, the companies give you these pages for free, but what's put on the page is a reflection of people. It's a reflection of who we are. And again, if you want to reflect excellence, you have to present excellence to people, because that's who you are. And what you see on a website these days basically is really sad. Again, what we have is an internet that's turned into a sewer, again, filled with a lot of adult sexualized content, and a lot of people seeking attention, trying to get clicks and views based on them flaunting their bodies. This is all about people trying to get become popular as related to flash, but not focused on substance. Now, as a writer, I wanted people to see my substance as a writer. I wanted to see people to see my intelligence being presented as related to things. That's what I want to present on the YouTube platform and other platforms like Patreon and many others. I wanted to present a reflection of myself, because I understand what I put online is a reflection of me. I wanted to show how I could be a professional writer as related to telling stories be a guy who could write blogs that could present my intelligence and everything about how I present things, and also show my skills as a nonfiction writer, my skills as a novelist, my skills as a screenwriter, show my skills and talent as a guy who can come up with concepts and put books together. That's what I wanted to show as related to things, because this internet space is a blank space. And as a blank space, it's a space where you can show who you are, and again show what you want to present to the world. That's what a lot of people don't understand about social media. It's basically showing how you socialize, and shows a reflection of you, shows a reflection of who you are as a person. And everything you put online basically is a representation of you. And a lot of these people who go out here and put up the stuff on OnlyFans, the adult content and adult content on social media, they don't see how it's just reflecting a negative image of themselves, and shows their low moral position, And the only way to deal with these type of people who want to get quick attention is to give them no attention at all. That's my advice to the viewer. Yeah, when you see this stuff, you do have options. There are some dots on the X platform. When you see somebody who, again, puts up something you don't like, again, all you have to do is, again, basically block that person, or basically, again, mute that person, or just basically, you have options. Again, I use those options all the time. When I see content that I find not to be good, what I do is, I just go out here and I just block that content, or I exit out. I just basically keep it moving, and then if I don't want to see it, I just move on. And that's the only way you can deal with antisocial content on social media, is to just basically exit out and keep on scrolling, because people, they do have the right to make these type of statements, but the whole thing is you don't have to pay it any attention. And again, the only way to deal with people who seek attention like this is not let them go viral at your expense. No, you can focus your attention on the content you want. That's the whole thing about the internet as a tool. Again, my focus mainly is on looking to try to expand my SJS Direct imprint, trying to reach more readers as related to getting them to pick up my books and show a positive picture of black people, and create positive stories about the black experience and share those stories with other people. That's the reason why I came to the internet, and showing people how solid a writer I am. I really, again, had a whole purpose for the internet as related to the business, as taking care of business, and reaching a larger audience with my business. That's what I want to do. And again, with these social media sites, you can use them as a tool towards building yourself up and creating a positive picture to the world. Or you can go out here and focus on looking to get quick attention. But a lot of those people who go to get quick attention, and again have turned the internet into a sewer, basically wind up getting consumed by the sludge that they create. And eventually people get tired of seeing them, again, doing their silly dances, or shaking their backsides, or showing off their bodies. Again, this type of content is dime a dozen, and I basically pay it very little attention in most cases, because my main focus is my business. And again, social media can be a great tool towards building your web presence and building your brand and reputation. That's what I've been doing over the last couple of years, and that's why I was asked to do a lot of live streams and guest spots for different YouTubers, because they saw that I was about business, they saw that I was serious, and they wanted me to come to their platform. This is how I was able to build up my platform. Now, I wish I could have built it up to the 100,000 sub members, and possibly was able to sell hundreds of books. That's something I would love to do. But when I use this internet, again, this social media, again, it's about showing a reflection of professionalism, showing a reflection of intelligence, showing a reflection of excellence. That's what a social media site and a streaming site can be. Again, it's a tool that you can use towards showing who you really are, and showing who you really are about things. But these people who go out here and use it to, again, create adult content and other types of inappropriate content, this is a reflection on them. And since they want to reflect that to the world, that's their choice. But my choice is to go out here and show a standard of excellence and professionalism with all the content I create. Now, this was a video requested by a viewer who on my Patreon, and if you want to request a video, you can drop a donation for a minimum of $15 to my PayPal or my Cash App, or even to Patreon. And if I know something about that subject, I will make that video for you. And if you want to pick up some of my books on the SJS Direct imprint, you can find those books on Amazon.com, Draft the Digital, Google Play, Barnes & Noble, and big box retailers like Walmart and Target. That's all I have to say for this video. You can comment, rate, and subscribe. Now available in paperback and e-readers, John Haynes, A Thorn in My Side. The man who rules the world takes on an agent from the CIA, from the Black Boule, in this all-new John Haynes series adventure. Get your copy of John Haynes' A Thorn in My Side in paperback and e-readers at online booksellers everywhere. Now available in paperback and e-readers, Spinsterella Goth Girl Summer. Take a trip into the macabre world of goth modeling in the new millennium in this spooktacular Spinsterella story. Pick up your copy of Spinsterella Goth Girl Summer in paperback and e-readers at Amazon.com and online booksellers everywhere. Support Black-owned and Black-operated digital broadcast media. www.niceradionetwork.com. Nice Radio Network, broadcasting 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.